Hello everyone, warm welcome. Welcome to our next snippets, which are snippet 43 and 44. So what I'm going to do is begin with our Pink Frog smooth card, 4 inches by 6 inches, as we've always done for every snippet. What I've done is I've cut 2 pieces of copier paper 2 inches square. So each pieces of those copier paper are 2 inches square. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of low tack tape just onto those squares and just place those down onto here. Now, you've seen me do this many times, but I'm loving this technique so much at the moment. What I'm trying to do is show you different ways that you can adapt the same technique. So I've got 2 pieces of copier paper 2 inches square, and what I'm doing is I'm just placing those down onto my piece of card. What I'm going to do then is use Salvage Patina Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to start on the square and just blend around each of the pieces of copier paper. So I'm using Salvage Patina, and I'm sort of working on the copier paper and then going out towards the edges of that copier paper, just so that I don't add too much ink. It doesn't matter whether you use ink blending tools, cut and dry foam, whichever you prefer. It's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to add the Salvage Patina just around the edges. You don't need too much ink, but you can blend as much as you want. You can take a lot longer with your snippet than I do. The snippets are designed that if you've only got 15 minutes, you can create in 15 minutes. But they're also designed that if you want to take longer, then you can take longer as well. I'm then going to use Mermaid Lagoon. So a little bit of Mermaid Lagoon, and then just blend a little bit of that colour just around the edges. So I'm not adding too much of the Mermaid Lagoon. I'm just sort of adding it here and there. Just adding a little bit more of that colour. And each time you do it, it will be a little bit different. So that's our blending. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the crow stamp for this one, and I'm going to use the crow text here that we've got on that stamp set. So it's stamp set 687. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair Morning Mist grey ink. And what I'm going to do is just add little bits of the text just sort of around the square. So I'm just adding little bits of the text. Doesn't matter which text, because at the moment it's just for texture, just for added interest. It doesn't matter. But the fact that it says crow as well is quite appealing. So I'm just adding some of that text, first generation, second generation, just around the project. So it's not a problem, you're just adding it around, and the fact that it says some things about crow is an advantage. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to use stamp set 994 number Graffiti. And what I love about this is that if I use the black ink, this then comes further to the foreground because you're using that black ink, and the grey ink is pushed back to the background. So I'm just adding some details from that number Graffiti around. Now, you've seen me do this on my YouTube in previous videos, but what I'm trying to show you is how you can make it look a little bit different. That's what I'm trying to show you. that you can just make each project look a little bit different with the same techniques. So I'm just adding the detail just around my little squares. So I think that's fine. So I've just done that with the black ink. I'm then just going to grab a piece of copier paper. And I think it's important, even if you've only got 15 minutes, just to blot. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is remove those little squares, which takes longer than anything else. There we go. So I've now got my little apertures, and what I've done is I've cut a 2-inch square out of a piece of copier paper, so I've got the aperture. So what I did is I just drew around a 2-inch square and cut on the inside. So then I can place this over my project. I've got it a little bit out there because it depends where I'm putting the crow. Where have you put the crow? Which I put on an acrylic block, and of course you can't find it now. So I'm just using this so it covers up the area so that I can add part of the crow. So I'm going to ink up with black ink, and what I'm going to do is ink up more area of the stamp than I actually need. And when you use this, you just need to make sure that it's not going to go on anywhere else on your project. So I want to just add, so let's just add a little bit more of that copier paper just there. So I'm just making sure that the crow just appears in the square. So I'm adapting the technique so that it looks a little bit different for each one. So just lift your acrylic block like so. There we go. So then you've got your crow inside your project. So we'll just go down here as well. And I'm using copier paper because you want that copier paper to be nice and thin. You don't want a thick piece of bulky card when you're doing this. So just ink the stamp up again. Ink up more of the stamp than you actually need. So just ink more of that than you need. And let's just place this here. And then we can put our little crow again in this square. So just allow that ink just to soak into there. And just lift that acrylic block just so that you get that good image. There we go. So what you've got is you've got the crow in there. Now, if you've got sort of like little bits missing, like me, let's grab this. I've got the ostrich stamp here, which is my ostrich stamp, Ostrich 810, which is the 810 stamp set here. What you can do is take your square again, which mine's a little bit bigger, doesn't matter. My cutting out is obviously not perfect. So what you can do, if you've missed little bits of the area, like I can take the ostrich and I can add a little bit of texture to the background by just adding some of these sort of lines here, so it looks part of the background. So here, let's just take the little, so you never panic about your projects. There's always ways around it. So I've got a little bit of text on my ostrich one here. So I'm going to add a little bit of text over the bird. Just wonderful. You can pick it here, and I can pick a little bit of text here and here. That's what I love about stamps. There's always ways to add to it. I will mess with that a little bit more and add a little bit more stamping, but I want to show you sort of the techniques. So what I've got here is I've got another one already done. So I've got another one already done that I did beforehand because I want two snippets very similar. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is take my ostrich, going to ink the ostrich up, and we're going to take our stamp. Let's move that out of the way, which I can't because there's cards all in the way. So we're just going to take our stamp again. This time we're going to take the ostrich, ink up more of the stamp than you need, exactly as before. And then just add your ostrich to your square, just like you did the crow. So just give that time just to soak in. Remove that and place the square over the top. So we're then going to ink up our stamp again. I'm just going to ink up the ostrich. Just like before. There we go. Let's make sure that we're there. And we'll just place our ostrich again. So just allow that just to soak into there. Just give it time to soak in. Now you can take a little bit longer doing things, but the idea is that I show you techniques. Now what I want you to do is go off on your own tangent and decide how you want to finish these off. Now I'm going to add the word crow here. I'm also going to add the word ostrich as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there so that you can finish off however you want. I may add a little pop of colour, like a pop of red or a pop of orange, and I will show that when I take the photograph. But the important thing is that you see the technique. So for instance, on the crow here, I've got a circle. I may add the circle with the C in and just add a pop of orange with that, because all I'm going to do is colour, which you can colour. But what I want to do for this snippet, I'm trying to make each snippet a little bit different, is give you the opportunity to finish that how you want. You've got the technique. Obviously, there's little things you need to remember, like blotting your image and also adding touches of white. So for instance, on the ostrich, you need to just sort of add the touches of white. What you also need to remember is when you've added your pop of colour, just add your splatters as well to your project. Just make sure you add those splatters. So that is snippet 43 and 44. But for me, I would add a little pop of colour as well, which you will see in my photographs when I put the photograph up and add the video. So love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.